Hey, everybody, this is Scott the Steamroller Steen. I'm the host of the Advanced Sports AI show. We're going to talk with Tony and Femi about what happened in week one, preview a little bit of week two, and let's just get right to it. Let's just dive in. Femi, how'd week one go?
Yeah, no, it didn't go the way we wanted, obviously. We pride ourselves on producing for our customers, and we're never going to run and hide from results. I think we came out of the box so hot last week. I think we just assumed that we'd pick right up where we left off, or I should say last year in week one. Let me own a couple of things that I think led to this. There's a lot of volatility in week one. And I think that when you look at the events that occurred, specifically the Tennessee game, which I think that everybody was pretty high on, and to give up a pick six and then a block punt for a touchdown, it's just kind of unheard of. So I'll live with that game because I think the events that led to us not covering that are very rare. Same with the Rams game. That game went to overtime. Usually at overtime, 80% of the time you get a field goal at the end of that game. You don't get a touchdown. We should have won that game. We won the Dallas game, and Carolina's a shit show. Like I'm even last year, even though Carolina would pop up sometimes, because we can get multiple high confidence picks, and sometimes Tony and I, it's our job to give you guys the best of the best picks. And I think that just like the algorithm and volatility are going to occur in week one, everyone's getting in their groove, right? So I'm very confident. We've had a lot of talks with the team. We have no concern about the AI. And it's been validated over years. So I just want everyone to stay the course, trust the process. And I think that this week you'll see a much better result in regard to the outcomes.
Terrific. Yeah. And to your point, Bryce Young comes right out of the box. First pass is an interception. You're like, wow, this guy may even be worse than last season. And then you were talking about that Detroit Rams game. I read that was the first time since 2021 that an overtime touchdown has covered a line bigger than 3. So yeah, you're talking about a real anomaly. Yeah. It's not likely to recur. Absolutely.
Yeah. And if we win 3 out of 5 games, everybody's happy because you're covered. You at least you're going to make a little bit of money. So you'll be good. You live to fight another week. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'll say this too as well. The thing about Carolina, and I know that Carolina is a very volatile team, but they're playing a familiar foe. And usually those division games, week one, you can look at the data. It goes back years. 70 or 65% of the time, division games, week one, the dog covers. Like that data is well known. I've seen all that data. So there's nothing emotional about what we do. Everything we do is rooted in data. You know what I mean? I think the game that surprised me the most, but maybe it shouldn't have, was Cincinnati. I mean, and a lot of bad things happened in that game. Touchdowns turned over, fumbles in going into the end zone. Jamar Chase wasn't himself. T. Higgins didn't play. Joe Burrow's coming off an injury. I think I'm put that on me. Put that on me. That's something that I need to be more mindful of in regard to how we flesh out and do diligence on stuff. That's not an AI thing. That's a human thing. That's on me. So I'm not concerned. And I think that our ability to produce has borne out over 3 years. So like I said, I just want people to stay calm, trust the process, and stick with it.
All right.
I'm glad that week one is over because, we've been tracking team movements and things, like everybody over the course of the off season. And it is difficult to incorporate some of those changes in the modeling. And so now that we're past week one, now we can pick things back up based on actual performance on the team, on the field. The talking is over, and now it's performance time, and that's what the model relies on.
Yeah, that's a great point, because with week one, you've got your entire rookie class. You've got all the free agents, both losses and gains. You don't know how exactly they're going to mesh and be incorporated into the system. So, yeah, that's a great point that after week one, you've got a lot better idea about what role everybody's playing, how much usage they're going to be getting, et cetera, et cetera. Let me ask you guys, just kind of as an aside, and then we'll get to next week here real quick. When you've got injuries like the Browns had, I know we didn't have this as a high confidence pick, but with the Browns, with both of their tackles being injured, how big of a role does that play, Femi?
No, the Browns game was a high confidence pick.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Browns Cowboys. Yeah, it was. You know what? The tackles, when you think about most important players on the field, don't get me wrong, offensive linemen are important, but I don't think the tackles are the reason why the Browns lost that game. You know what I mean? There was a lot of things they did poorly, from quarterback play to not taking care of the ball, to running wrong routes, to blowing coverages. You know what I mean? They just didn't play well. And I put a lot of that on Deshaun Watson. He did not play well. You know what I mean? Look at the Ravens. The Ravens have basically two rookies out there playing. They have a guy who's a sixth man in Makari playing right tackle, and they pushed Kansas City to the brink. Their ceiling is so high. I'm very high on the Ravens, and I'm biased for sure, but this has nothing. My analysis has nothing to do with my love or my affinity for my team. I see how they played with new young players out there. To make your point about having, there's an update that needs to occur in the algorithm. The 2023 season has a remnant that exists still in the 2024 algo, and that 2024 algo weights some games from the past, but the weighting is diminished in the new games as they stack up. They're weighted heavier. The more recent games are weighted heavier, right? I don't want to give away our whole playbook here, but my point is what I'm saying is rudimentary and elementary in the AI world. And I think Tony can attest to this. He's one of the best in this damn state, probably, in regard to analyzing and assessing AI. But I'm still bullish on what we're going to do. I'm still bullish on this season. I'm still excited about the season, but there is a component of volatility and unknown that needs to be flushed out. And my guess is that by the time we hit week 3, week 4, week 5, we'll hit the ground. We'll be flying. We'll be good to go.
Terrific. Yes, and my apologies. That's right. You guys were all over.
That was actually my favorite pick, was the Dallas +2.5 in Cleveland. That was my favorite. If I had a pick of the week, that would have been it.
Yeah, that Dallas defense looks to be for real, at least from a layman's eyes. You may have a different opinion.
No, they're real. I think they're one of the more talented teams in the league across the board. 1 through 53 active roster guys. They're one of the more talented teams in the NFL for sure.
Yeah, I know everybody tends to write them off because of their failures in the playoffs, but this is a team that's won 11 games for 3 straight seasons. They are
actually, I think it's 12.
Is it? Oh, you're right. It is
12. Yeah,
seasons in a row. And for whatever reason, they just can't get over the hump there in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a Dallas fan personally. I despise the Cowboys personally. I'm just going to keep it real with you. It's because they get all this hype and they don't really do anything with it. You know what I mean? Green Bay put that smack down on them. You know what I mean? Like in the playoffs last year. And so until they do something postseason, they can win all the 12 games they want to win. And this is, once again, this isn't Femi, Advanced Sports AI CEO talking. This is Femi, the fan, talking. You know what I mean? Like I love football and I love analyzing teams philosophically, culturally. And I know that Dallas has this aura of being America's team. They're not America's team anymore. That's gone the way of the dodo bird. They're not that anymore. Tony, I don't know what your thoughts are, or if you care about Dallas.
Well, we're going to be looking very closely at that Dallas game, hosting New Orleans, and whether that game is going to be a real tester for Dallas with New Orleans coming in there. So the model is predicting some things that we're going to have to talk about and validate. We always do validation because there are always things in model AI, whether it's autonomous vehicles or any kind of AI. One always has to make sure that the model includes as much as we can, and that's where we feel we're very special, because we have this unique combination of analytics as well as the human knowledge and Femi, who's literally been in the trenches, to really make sure that we don't miss anything, that the algorithm isn't missing anything or overlooking anything.
Very good. That's a great point. And that's a great lead in talking about that Dallas game. Femi, I know you guys haven't run your models yet for this week, but there is the one game that you were kind of taking a look at for this weekend. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. And let me piggyback on this, Scott, and what Tony said. I'm very curious about New Orleans. They tease us every once in a while and they kind of fall apart. I think they're going into Dallas, correct, Tony? They're going to be playing at Dallas. That'll be a real test for New Orleans. If they can go in there and play well, then I'll be a believer, because I'm a David Carr fan. You know what I mean? I like David Carr, and I like Derek Carr, and I like David Carr. I like both of them, actually. Yeah, yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, just the Carr brothers, right? They're both QBs. Yeah, I'm a big Derek Carr fan. He's a great human being. I know a lot of people that know him personally. He's a California guy. I'm a California guy. You know, I know his family. I've met his brother before, so I always want to see him do well. That aside, I'll get to the pick or the game that I'm honed in on. I'm honed in on Miami and Buffalo tomorrow night. I think that, is it Miami's time, or is Buffalo still, you know, basically the beast of the AFC East still? Miami did not impress me last week. I think Jacksonville gave that game away. Travis Etienne fumbled at the goal line. That changed the whole game around. That fumble happened, and then Tyreek got that 80-yard touchdown from Tua like the next series. So they handed that game to them. But that's how the NFL works, you know. Teams capitalize on momentum. The same thing happened in the Tennessee Chicago game. Chicago had no business winning that game. Tennessee started turning the ball over. They gave Bears life, and then the Bears basically just dumped on them, and Tennessee never recovered emotionally. And that's the NFL. You know, it's a game of momentum. And I think right now, if I have to, without giving anything away, I think that Buffalo has the momentum. I think Buffalo, I would not be surprised, and I know this goes against the analytics, but I wouldn't be surprised if Buffalo goes into Miami and wins that game. I don't know if they're going to cover or not. I'm not going to give that away just yet, but would I be surprised with Buffalo going to Miami and winning? No, I would not be.
All right, very good. Yeah, that's
very insightful, Femi. Very insightful.
That's nicely done. Tony, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think Femi covered it really well. Yeah.
Very
so
good.
some games are just made to you sit back and enjoy. You know, leave the money in your wallet. But you know, I think that the model is showing some things that reflect what Femi said.
Very good. Boy, those Thursday night games were so bad to watch last year, at least from a fan standpoint, that, you know, it's nice to have at least one that on paper looks like it's going to be a pretty fun game to watch. And yeah, just, I mean, you're right. That Will Levis in that second half just acted like he just didn't want to hang on to the ball at all.
He basically, I think he called somebody and said, "Hey, I'm about to throw this game away." Literally, that's what he did. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's unfortunate. You know what I mean? Because I felt like Tennessee really was showing me something. I was enjoying what I was watching. Tony Pollard was back there doing his thing. He had that big run for a touchdown, and I just thought, okay, man, maybe Tennessee is going to surprise some people. And then it all fell apart, you know. So
yeah, that remade defensive backfield looks like they might. I don't know if they're the real deal, but they certainly look much improved over last season for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bummer for them. I feel bad for them because those guys, they had every opportunity to win that game, and then the Caleb Williams, you know, kind of number one pick, not winning a game to start a season thing. Like he had no business winning that game. It wasn't him. It was the defense. It was special teams, honestly. And he knows that. I listened to Caleb talk about it, and he's a stand-up kid. So I hope success for Caleb. But he didn't really do much to help them win on Sunday, and he knows that, and he owned it. But I expect great things from Caleb Williams. I really do.
Very good. All right, gentlemen, thanks very much for being here. As always, you guys can check out the links in the description of today's video. You can hit to Winners and Whiners and click on the Advanced Sports AI section. That'll give you all the great options for not just the high confidence plays, but the baseline plays as well, or some combination. If you guys want to play both, no law against that. We highly recommend it. And I know the baseline picks did well on totals last week, right?
Yeah. And let me add one more thing, Scott. I'm not sure in regard to presentation, but we are introducing something in regard to our picks, which it's called a no bet. And a no bet basically means that we are directly exactly at the same prediction, which is the spread as Vegas. And in those situations, when you include the vig, it's not worth betting on. So that's something that I want to get into a little bit more because we want to teach fans about certain things. Sometimes the best thing to do, like Tony said earlier, is keep your money in your pocket and bet on the games where we have the advantage. So trust us on that advantage. If it's a 50-50 toss up, there's no reason to make that bet. Unless it's your team and you just want to throw some money out there, you're going to send that to me in that case. You know, I'll take that from you.
Very good. All right, guys. Thanks very much. Looking forward to a great season. Looking forward to a fantastic week 2. Don't forget, we started off last week. Last year, 10-0. Am I right on that?
No, I think we were 11-1 in high confidence picks. I think we're 11-1. Yeah.
All right. So there are good things coming, and they're starting this weekend. Femi, Tony, everybody, the entire team
Scott.
of Advanced Sports AI. Thanks for all you guys do. Thanks for being here today, and we'll see you guys next week. Take care, everyone.